Once upon a time, there was a boy named Daniel. Daniel lived in a small village far from the city. His house was small, and his family had little money. Life was not easy. Many people in the village believed that hard work in the fields was the only way to survive. But Daniel was different. He was curious. He wanted to know more. Every evening, after working with his parents, he would sit under the sky and look at the stars. He would think, what is out there? What is beyond this place? What could I become if I knew more? Deep in his heart, he believed that knowledge could change everything. But the problem was clear. Daniel's village had no proper school. There was one old classroom with a few broken chairs and books that were torn and missing pages. Sometimes a teacher would come, but most of the time there was no one. Many children in the village gave up on studying. They said, "What is the use of learning? We will only work in the fields." But Daniel did not agree. He believed education could open doors that even the strongest hands could not. One day, Daniel found an old book thrown near the road. It was dirty, and some pages were missing, but he held it like treasure. That night, with a small candle, he tried to read it. The words were difficult. He could not understand many of them, but he did not give up. He read one page again and again until he understood a little, and then he moved to the next. Slowly, painfully, but with great hope, Daniel began to teach himself. Education became his light. Each new word he learned was like a new star shining in his night sky. Each sentence was like a new road opening in front of him. His friends laughed at him sometimes. They said, "Daniel, why waste your time? You will never leave this village. You will always be like us." But Daniel smiled quietly. Deep inside, he knew something they did not. He knew that learning, even slowly, was never a waste. As months passed, Daniel grew more confident. He learned to read simple stories. He learned to write letters. He even tried to teach the younger children in the village with the little knowledge he had. Education gave him a sense of purpose. It made him feel alive. It gave him hope that tomorrow could be better than today. Years later, an opportunity came. A teacher from the city visited the village. He was surprised to see Daniel reading and teaching others. The teacher said, "You have great hunger for learning. Do not stop. Education can take you far." These words stayed in Daniel's heart forever. And this is the truth, my dear listener. Education is not about where you are born or how much money you have. Education is about your desire to learn, your hunger for knowledge, and your belief that you can grow. Even if you start with nothing, if you keep learning, you will become something. Daniel's story is the story of many people in the world. Many children are born in places with no schools, no books, and no teachers. But those who keep learning, those who never give up, are the ones who later change not only their lives, but also the lives of others. That is the power of education. Education gives you voice. Without education, you may have ideas, but you cannot express them. With education, your voice becomes strong and people listen. Education gives you courage. Without education, You may feel afraid to face the world. With education, you have the power to stand tall. Education gives you choices. Without education, your life may be limited. With education, you can choose your path, your career, your destiny. Don't think about it, my friend. What is the difference between a dark room and a bright room? In a dark room, you cannot see anything. You cannot move freely. You feel trapped. But when light comes, everything becomes clear. You can see, you can move, and you can reach your goals. Education is that light. It turns your dark room into a bright one. Now imagine yourself. Imagine your life with education. Imagine being able to read any book, understand any message, talk to anyone, and travel anywhere. Imagine the freedom it gives you. That is what I want for you. That is why you are listening to this story. That is why learning English and learning every day is important. Daniel's journey did not end in the village because of his love for learning. He later received a chance to study in the city. It was not easy. At first, he felt shy and many things were new to him. But his strong foundation, his passion, and his determination pushed him forward. He studied hard. He worked hard. He never gave up. Step by step, he became better. And one day, he became a teacher himself. He returned to his village not as the same boy who once sat under the stars dreaming, but as a man who carried knowledge like a shining torch. He opened a school in his village. He taught children who once had no hope. He showed them that with education, they could go anywhere. His village changed. People started to believe in learning. The next generation grew stronger. This all happened because one boy believed in the power of education. And now, my dear friend, I want you to see yourself as Daniel. Maybe your life is difficult now. Maybe people around you do not believe in education. Maybe some laugh at you when you try to speak English or try to learn something new. But do not give up. Remember Daniel. Remember that one book, that one candle, that one dream. If he could do it, so can you. Education is not only about reading and writing. It is about opening your mind. It is about learning new ideas. It is about understanding the world. It is about becoming stronger inside and outside. With education, you can face problems with courage. With education, you can rise again after failure. With education, you can create a better life for yourself and for others. This is why I tell you today, never stop learning. Never stop reading. Never stop practicing. Even if it is slow, keep going. Each word you learn, each lesson you understand, each new idea you discover brings you one step closer to your dream. The power of education is real. And the best part is, no one can ever take it away from you. When Daniel returned to his village, he was filled with joy. The same fields where he once worked as a boy now echoed with the laughter of children learning. He saw the spark in their eyes, the same spark he once carried, and he knew that this was only the beginning. Education was not just changing his life, it was now changing the lives of many others. That is the true power of education. It does not stop with one person. When you learn, you do not only lift yourself. You lift everyone around you. Asterisk, asterisk. Think about it, my friend. If you learn English today, if you practice daily, if you become stronger, your life will change. But not only yours, your family will benefit. Your friends will benefit. One day, your children will benefit. Knowledge spreads like fire. Once a single spark begins, it can grow into a flame that lights the whole world. Daniel's new school was small at first. There were only a few benches and a blackboard. The books were still old, and sometimes there was no chalk. But something special filled that room. The children came not because they were forced, but because they wanted to. They wanted to dream bigger than the fields, bigger than the village, bigger than the limits that people placed on them. And Daniel encouraged them. He told them, education is not about what you have in your hands. It is about what you have in your mind. If you fill your mind with knowledge, no one can ever make you poor. One of his students, a little girl named Sarah, believed those words deeply. Sarah was shy at first. She barely spoke in front of others. But as the days passed, she learned to read. Then she learned to write. And soon, she began asking questions. She wanted to know about the stars, the oceans, and the world beyond her small village. Education gave her courage to dream. She realized she could become a doctor, a scientist, or even a leader. Daniel smiled whenever he saw Sarah reading under the tree, just like he once did. He knew education was planting seeds in her heart. This is the beauty of education, my dear listener. Education plants seeds. At first, you may not see the results. It may feel slow and sometimes even boring. But just like seeds grow into trees, knowledge grows into success. If you are patient, if you keep watering the seed of education with effort, one day you will see the tree of wisdom standing tall in your life. Daniel's school became famous in nearby villages. People began sending their children there. Some parents still believed it was a waste of time. They thought, why send children to school when they can help in the fields? But slowly, they saw the difference. The children who studied spoke with confidence. They helped their parents with letters and numbers. They learned new skills. Soon, the parents realized that education was not stealing time, but giving their children a brighter future. Years passed, and the small school grew into something bigger. Daniel invited other teachers to join. The classrooms became full. The sound of pens and pages replaced the silence of ignorance. And soon, his village was no longer seen as a forgotten place, but as a place of learning. People from the city visited to see this miracle. They were amazed that one boy's dream had transformed a whole community. And here, my dear friend, is another lesson. Education does not only change individuals, it changes societies, it changes nations, it builds roads where there were none, it builds hospitals where there was only sickness, it builds bridges where there was only separation. Education creates leaders who lead with wisdom, not with fear. Education creates inventors who find solutions where others see problems. Education creates artists who bring beauty into the world. Without education, none of these things can exist. Don't think about your own life. Maybe you are listening now in a small room. Maybe you are tired. Maybe you feel that life is too heavy, but the moment you decide to learn, the moment you choose to practice English, to read a book, to listen to knowledge, you are changing your future. It may not happen in one day, but slowly, like the sunrise, education will bring light into your life. Sarah, the shy girl from Daniel's school, grew up with this belief. She worked hard. She studied day and night. She asked questions. And one day, she left the village to go to the city just like Daniel once did. At first, she was afraid. The city was big and everything was new. But her education gave her strength. She remembered Daniel's words, "Knowledge is light. Carry it with you always." And with that light, she walked confidently. Years later, Sarah became a doctor. She returned to the village to help the sick. People who once doubted her now respected her. They realized education had turned a shy little girl into a woman who could save lives. And this, my dear listener, is why you must never give up on learning. Education gives you wings. It allows you to fly to places you never thought possible. It gives you strength to face challenges, courage to stand against fear, and wisdom to guide others. It does not matter if you are rich or poor, young or old, strong or weak. Education belongs to everyone. If you seek it, it will come to you. Daniel's school was now filled with many stories like Sarah's. Some children became teachers. Some became nurses. Some became leaders in business. Each of them carried the same message. Education changes everything. And the best part is that the power of education never ends. When you teach one person, they will teach another, and then another. And soon, the whole world changes. My dear friend, I want you to imagine yourself in this story. Imagine you are sitting in Daniel's school. Imagine you are reading your first English words. Imagine you are learning something new. At first, it feels hard. You make mistakes. You forget. You feel shy. But if you keep going, something amazing happens. Slowly, the words become easier. Slowly, your voice becomes stronger. Slowly, your dreams become clearer. That is the power of education working inside you. Do not let fear stop you. Do not let others laugh at you. Do not let your mind tell you that you cannot, because you can. Every person can learn. Every person can grow. Every person can become more than they are today. All you need is patience, effort, and belief. Just like Daniel. Just like Sarah. And just like you. Education is not about competition. It is not about being better than someone else. It is about being better than you were yesterday. If today you know one new word, you are already stronger. If tomorrow you know two, you are even better. Step by step, you grow. That is the secret. That is the way. Remember this always, my friend. Education is the greatest treasure. It is more valuable than gold, more powerful than weapons, and more beautiful than jewels. Gold can be stolen. Weapons can be broken. Jewels can be lost. But education, once you have it, stays with you forever. No one can ever take it away. And this is why you are here. This is why you must keep listening, keep learning, and keep believing. Because your story is still being written, and with education, it will be a story full of light. And so, my dear friend, the story continues. We have walked together through the journey of Daniel, the boy who once dreamed under the stars and grew into a man who brought light to his village. We followed Sarah, the shy girl who discovered her courage through books and became a doctor, who saved lives. And now we arrive at the most important part of all understanding how the power of education does not stop with one village, or one person, or even one generation. The power of education continues to move like a river, flowing forward, carrying hope, and shaping the future. The village that was once forgotten by the world was now alive with change. Children walked proudly with books in their hands. Parents smiled as they saw their sons and daughters becoming stronger than they ever dreamed. Daniel's small school had become a symbol of hope, and Sarah's return as a doctor had proven that education could turn dreams into reality. But the story of education did not end there. It was only the beginning. Education is like a seed, as we said before, but seeds, when planted in good soil, do not grow into just one tree. They create forests. One tree gives shade, but a forest gives life to everything around it. That is what was happening in the village. Daniel's one small dream had grown into something larger than himself. His dream had created other dreamers. Those dreamers created more dreamers. And slowly, a whole forest of knowledge began to grow. Among the children who grew up in the village was a boy named Michael. Michael was curious, full of energy, and always asking questions. He wanted to know how machines worked, how bridges were built, and how cities came alive with lights. Education gave him the answers, and it also gave him more questions. He was fascinated by science. While some children played with sticks and stones, Michael built small models from wood, imagining airplanes and tall towers. Years later, with Daniel's encouragement, Michael went to study engineering in the city. At first, it was difficult, just as it had been for Daniel and Sarah. The city was large, the people were fast, and everything seemed overwhelming. But Michael had the strength of education behind him. He studied hard. He worked harder. And one day, he became an engineer. He returned to his village, not just as a boy who once dreamed of machines, but as a man who could build them. He helped create roads. He designed water systems. He made sure children no longer had to walk for hours to fetch water. Education had given him the tools to turn ideas into reality. And here we see another truth. My dear listener, education builds not only minds, but also nations. Doctors heal bodies. Engineers build cities. Teachers shape minds. Leaders guide nations. But at the center of all of them is education. Without it, none of these things are possible. Education is the root. Everything else grows from it. Now imagine, again, your own life. Maybe you do not want to be a teacher like Daniel, or a doctor like Sarah, or an engineer like Michael. Maybe you have a different dream. Maybe you want to be an artist, a writer, a traveler, or a business person. No matter what your dream is, education will help you. Education gives you the foundation It gives you the tools. It gives you the confidence to say, I can. And when you say I can, the world begins to open. The village continued to change. New schools were built. More children left for the city to study, and more returned with knowledge. Slowly, the village was no longer called poor. It was no longer called forgotten. It was called strong. It was called wise. And all of this came from education. This story is not just about a village, my dear friend. It is about the world. There are many villages, towns, and cities that wait for people like Daniel, Sarah, and Michael. There are places waiting for dreamers, for learners, for people like you. Maybe you think you are small. Maybe you think your voice does not matter. But I want you to remember, Daniel was once just a boy with a broken book. Sarah was once just a shy girl. Michael was once just a curious child. They were ordinary people who believed in learning, and that belief turned them into extraordinary people. You, too, can be extraordinary. You, too, can change your life. And when you change your life, you also change the lives of those around you. This is the never-ending power of education. It spreads. It grows. It multiplies. Now let us think deeply about what education truly gives you. Education gives you knowledge, but knowledge is not only about facts and numbers. Knowledge is about understanding the world. It is about knowing how to think, how to question, and how to solve problems. Without education, problems feel like heavy mountains. With education, those same mountains become challenges you can climb. Education also gives you freedom. Without it, you may be stuck in one place, unable to move. But with education, you can travel, you can work anywhere, you can speak to anyone. Education opens the world. It shows you that there are no limits except the limits you place on yourself. Education gives you dignity. It gives you respect. When you speak with knowledge, people listen. When you act with wisdom, people follow. Education allows you to stand tall, no matter where you come from. It gives you the confidence to believe in yourself. And perhaps most importantly, education gives you hope. Life is not always easy. Sometimes it feels heavy. Sometimes you feel lost. But when you are educated, you always see a way forward. You always see a door that can be opened. You always believe that tomorrow can be better than today. That is hope. And that is priceless. The village that Daniel once called home eventually became a center of learning. Children from other places came to study there. The story of Daniel spread far and wide, inspiring others. And with each new student, with each new dream, the flame of education burned brighter. Now, my dear friend, I turn to you. As you listen to this story, I want you to see yourself as part of it. Maybe you are at the beginning, just like Daniel, holding your first book. Maybe you are like Sarah, shy but filled with hidden courage. Maybe you are like Michael, curious and ready to build. Wherever you are, remember this: education is your tool, your shield, and your light. With it, you can create the life you desire. Do not let anyone tell you that you cannot. Do not let your circumstances decide your future. Do not let your fears control your steps. Remember Daniel, Sarah, and Michael. Remember how education changed their lives, and believe that it can change yours too. The power of education is not only in the past, it is here, right now, in your hands. Every word you learn in English, every lesson you listen to, every page you read adds to your power. Slowly, quietly, you are building your future. And one day you will look back and see how far you have come. You will see that the long nights of study, the small steps of practice, the moments when you wanted to give up but didn't follow them created the strong person you will become, my dear friend. Education is not a race. It is a journey. Take it step by step. Be patient. Be consistent. And most of all, believe, because if you believe, you will achieve. And when you achieve, you will inspire others. Just like Daniel inspired his village, just like Sarah healed her people, and just like Michael built a better home for everyone. This is the true power of education. It never ends. It never stops. It keeps moving forward, carrying dreams, carrying hope, carrying the future, and you're a part of it. So keep learning, keep practicing, keep believing, because the power of education is inside you, waiting to shine.